The room was quiet. That deep, expensive quiet you only find in old-world steakhouses. All dark wood and leather-bound books. My name is Calantha. I'm 36. And I was beaming. I'd just spent $85,000 on a car for my father's 62nd birthday. And this was the moment. The whole family was there. My father, Michael, a man who looks more like a severe economics professor than a dad, stood up. He raised his champagne glass. The room fell silent. He locked his eyes on mine, and I felt my heart swell. A toast, he said, his voice clear, to my daughter, Calantha, who proves that one can earn a fortune and still understand nothing about true value. What's the most backhanded compliment you've ever received? Let me know in the comments below, and tell me where you're listening from. To understand that toast, you have to understand my father, Michael Miller. He isn't just a dad. He's a tenured economics professor. His world is Beacon Hill, Boston, a world of theory, austerity, and quiet, intellectual judgment. On paper, our life was perfect. But after my mother, Susan, passed away from cancer when I was 12, all the warmth left our house. It was just me and him, and he replaced every emotion with a lecture. My mother had been the buffer. Without her, I was left trying to find a way to connect with a man who only spoke the language of logic and markets. I still remember my 13th birthday, the first one without her. I'd been hoping for a bike, maybe even a small party with friends. Instead, Dad came home late from the university, ate the dinner I'd made, and went to his study. He emerged an hour later with a heavy, cloth-bound book, a first-edition copy of Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations. "It's time you understood market forces, Calantha," he said, before returning to his paperwork. No cake, no card, just a dense book on economic theory. I spent that night crying into my pillow, clutching that book like it was some kind of proof he at least remembered I existed. From that day on, school became my battlefield. I wasn't just trying to get good grades. I was trying to get his attention. I pushed myself relentlessly, acing every class, winning every debate. Each achievement was a gift I laid at his feet, hoping for a single, "Well done," or "I'm proud of you." When I was in college, I built my first business plan for a small tech startup. I'd won a $2,500 scholarship, and I used it as seed money. I worked for months on the presentation, the spreadsheets, the market analysis. I finally showed it to him, my heart pounding. He reviewed my spreadsheets for 10 silent minutes. Then he looked up, over the rim of his glasses. "Your profit margins are inefficient," he said. "This is a hobby, Calantha, not a business. Your $2,500 scholarship would be better invested in a T-bill, a hobby." I took that hobby and I worked myself to the bone. When I finally sold it for millions, I thought, this is it. This is the moment. I called him from Austin, my hands shaking. "Dad," I said. I sold the company. There was a pause. I could hear him breathing on the other end. Then, "Well, don't forget to account for capital gains." That was it. No congratulations. Just a tax tip. My entire life was a ledger. Good grades earned a nod. A science fair win earned a weekend of peace. I was raised in a system of transactions. So, when his 62nd birthday approached, I decided to make the ultimate transaction. I remembered him talking, just once, years ago, about the 1968 vintage sports car he and Mom had always wanted. Their someday car. I found one. A broker in New England sourced it, fully restored, perfect condition. It cost me $85,000. It drained almost all of my liquid savings, but I was convinced it would be worth it. This wasn't just a car. It was a symbol. It was my way of saying, "See, I listened. I succeeded. I can give you the dream you gave up." I was trying to finally buy the one product I'd always been denied his approval. I spent months planning the party, coordinating with the broker, imagining the look on his face. This time, he'd have to see me. This time, it would be different. The camera holds on my face. The smile I'd been holding for an hour doesn't just fall, it shatters. For a second, the world went silent. Then I heard a single, sharp laugh from my Uncle David. My Aunt Karen, sitting next to him, shot him a look that could kill, and he immediately coughed, pretending he'd choked on his water. Across the table, "Linda, My father's new academic girlfriend. Looked horrified. She stared down at her plate as if it held the secrets to the universe. I felt the heat rise in my face. A hot, stinging blush of pure humiliation. I could feel the tears welling, but I refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of him. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't ask why. In that moment, I realized a truth I'd never understood. You don't have to win the argument. You just have to protect your dignity. I stood up slowly. The scrape of my chair against the hardwood floor sounded deafeningly loud in the silent room. I placed my heavy linen napkin neatly on the table, and without a single word, I chose dignity over drama. I turned, and I walked out. I walked past the bar, where people were laughing, oblivious. I walked past the host stand. I pushed open the heavy oak doors and stepped out into the cold, damp Boston night. The air hit my lungs, and it felt like breathing for the first time. I got into the back of an Uber I'd called from the lobby. Only then, in the darkness of the back seat, did I let a single, hot tear roll down my cheek. I wasn't sobbing. I was consumed by a cold, sharp clarity. The next morning, I was in my sterile hotel room at 7 a.m. I hadn't slept. I was just staring at my phone, watching the pale light filter through the curtains. Then it buzzed. A text from Michael, my father. My heart leaped. Maybe it was an apology. Maybe he'd woken up and realized what he'd done. I opened it. The text read, "You created an incredibly awkward situation last night. You embarrassed me in front of Linda." I stared at the words. My blood didn't just run cold. It turned to ice. I embarrassed him. There was no apology, no remorse. Just blame. I didn't reply. I couldn't. What could I even say? 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Text number 2 from Michael. "Linda is very upset. You owe her an apology for ruining the evening." This time, I almost laughed. It was so absurd. The suffocating lack of self-awareness. The sheer nerve of it. I owed his girlfriend an apology. My phone started ringing. "Michael?" I hit ignore. It rang again. Immediately. "Michael." I hit ignore again. A few seconds later, a new text notification appeared. "This is childish. Calantha, I am flying to a conference at noon. I expect you to have the keys and paperwork for the car on my desk before I return. We will discuss your immature behavior then." I read that last text 3 times. He wasn't just unapologetic. He was doubling down. He was demanding the $85,000 gift he had just publicly mocked and humiliated me for giving him. He saw my pain as immature behavior. And that car, he saw it as his right. I read that final text. The demand, the entitlement, the complete lack of empathy. Something in me snapped. But it wasn't an emotional break. It was a professional one. I'm the co-founder of a successful tech company. I know how to sever a bad contract. I picked up my phone, but I didn't text him. I went to my contacts and called James, the classic car broker. He picked up, his voice cheerful. "Ms. Miller, how did he like it? It's a beauty, isn't it?" I took a breath. "It is, James. It's perfect. Listen, there's been a change of plans. I need you to relist the 68. There was a long silence. Excuse me," he finally said. "Is something wrong with the vehicle? We can have it picked up." "No, nothing is wrong with the car," I said, my voice steady and cold. "The situation has just changed. I need you to sell it." He sounded deeply uncomfortable. "Well, of course, Ms. Miller, but you understand? As a brokerage, relisting so quickly, as per our contract, there's the $5,000 commission fee to reacquire and sell." "Yes," I cut him off. "The $5,000 fee is fine. Please, just handle it. Wire the remainder to my account." I hung up. It was done. $5,000. It stung, but it felt like the price of freedom. Then, I opened my text chain with Michael. I typed one. Simple, cold sentence. "The matter of the car has been handled. It is being resold by the broker. Do not contact me again." I hit send. Then I blocked his number. Then I blocked Linda's. Then I blocked my Uncle David's. I opened my airline app and booked the next available flight back to Austin. I was at Logan Airport, gate B22, just waiting to board. My phone buzzed. An unblocked number from a Boston area code. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. It was my Aunt Karen. "Calantha, honey. Please don't hang up." Her voice was kind, not accusatory. She was my mother's sister, and the only person in the family who ever felt warm. I stayed quiet. "What your father said," she began, her voice shaking a little, "was the cruelest thing I have ever heard. There is no excuse. I want you to know that." "Okay," I said, my voice flat, dead. "But," she hesitated, "I think you need to know why." "Why what?" Aunt Karen the first snapped. "Why he's a monster." "No, honey," she said gently. "Why that car?" I waited. What did she mean? Aunt Karen took a deep breath. "That 1968 sports car? It wasn't just his dream car. It was their car. His and Susan's. Your mother's?" My stomach just dropped. I had to lean against the terminal window. I felt dizzy. "He never told you, oh." "Michael," she sighed. "They were saving for it. Calantha. They had a picture of it on the fridge for years. It was their someday car. For when he got tenure and the kids were older." I couldn't breathe. "When your mom got sick?" Karen continued, her voice cracking. "All that money, all of it, went to her medical bills. Every last cent. And after she was gone, he never spoke of it again. He took that picture down. He put that dream, and all his grief, into a box, and buried it. He buried everything. He never told me." I whispered. "Of course not," Karen said. And now she was weeping softly. "Honey, when you showed up with that car, with that exact car, you didn't just give him a gift. You resurrected a ghost. You unintentionally dug up the one piece of pain he couldn't bear to look at." She paused, and her next words hit me like a physical blow. "He didn't lash out at you, Calantha. He lashed out at it. At the reminder of everything he lost." My flight started boarding. I just stood there, completely frozen, the phone still pressed to my ear. 2 days later, I was back in my condo in Austin. The sun was streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows, but my apartment felt cold. I'd been walking around in a daze, processing Aunt Karen's call. The anger was still there, a hot coil in my stomach. But now it was tangled up with this profound, tragic new information. He wasn't just cruel, he was broken. And I had, completely by accident, taken a hammer to the cast he'd built around his heart. I didn't know what to do with that. My laptop pinged. An email? Not from his personal account, which I'd blocked, but from his university address. The subject line just said Calantha. I opened it. The email was short. "Calantha, I have been trying to reach you. You will not return my calls. Please, I need to speak with you." I stared at that one word. Please. In 36 years, I had never heard my father use that word. Not to me. Not to anyone. It wasn't a demand. It wasn't a lecture. It was a request. I picked up my phone. My hands were shaking, but I felt strangely calm. I unblocked his number and I called him. He picked up on the very first ring, as if he'd been holding the phone. "Calantha," his voice. It wasn't the booming, confident, professor's voice that echoed in lecture halls and across dining room tables. It was small, thin. It was the voice of an old man. "I got your email," I said, my own voice steady. I don't know what to say," he stammered. The car is gone. Dad." There was a long pause, and then he let out a breath that sounded like it had been trapped in his chest for 20 years. "Good," he whispered. That shocked me. Good. I couldn't have looked at it. This was it. This was the opening. "Why not?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. "Because of Mom." He was silent. I could hear his strained breathing. I don't know how," he finally whispered. "You don't know how to talk about her," I pushed. And the anger, that familiar, righteous anger, started to rise again. "So, you humiliate me instead, is that how it works? You call me valueless in front of my entire family, in front of your new girlfriend. All my life, I have been a line item on your ledger. Dad, a hobby, an inefficient margin. I'm so tired of trying to earn my place on your balance sheet." The words just poured out of me. All the pain of the calculator, the business plan, the decades of being measured and found lacking. On the other end of the line, he made a sound. It wasn't a word. It was a choked, guttural sob that was torn out of him. "It's not you," he said, and his voice was breaking apart. "It's me." He was openly crying now, and I just stood there, my phone pressed to my ear. "Frozen, you look so much like her," he wept. "And you're successful. You built something from nothing. From that hobby. I don't know how to. I'm so proud of you. Calantha, I'm so proud. And it terrifies me." The power flip was complete. The stoic professor, the man of ironclad theories and emotional austerity, was gone. In his place was just my dad. Don't leave," he pleaded, his voice desperate. "I know I don't deserve it. But please, don't be gone. I'll get help. I'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever it takes. Please. Calantha. Just. Please." 1 year later, I'm standing in my office in Austin, looking out over the skyline. So much has changed. He kept his word. We both did. It wasn't easy. It wasn't a movie magic fix, where we suddenly became the perfect family. It was slow, and awkward, and painful. He started seeing a therapist. Dr. Albright, a man he'd probably debated at some university function years ago. I resumed my own therapy, this time with a new focus. Not how to win my father's love, but how to build a life on my own. My therapist helped me understand the concept of emotional inheritance. My father, she explained, was raised by cold, severe parents. He was given emotional poverty. It's all he had to pass down. After Mom died, he had nothing left to bequeath but silence and theory. Our work, my therapist said, wasn't about him finding love for me. It was about him learning a new emotional language from scratch. At 62 years old, our relationship isn't perfect, but it's real. We talk, really talk, about once a week. The conversations are still sometimes stilted. He'll start talking about the federal funds rate, and I'll gently steer him back to, "How are you feeling?" "Dad, it's work, but we're both doing it." My phone buzzed on my desk. A text from Michael. "In Boston for the weekend." It read, "Would love to take you to dinner? Not the steakhouse." I smiled. I texted back, "I'd love that, but I'm in Austin. Rain check." His reply came almost immediately. "Okay. I'm proud of the new funding round." "You did good." I stared at the words. "I'm proud of you. You did good." Simple. Direct. It had taken us a lifetime to get here. I texted back, "Thanks, Dad." I looked back out the window at the city. The $85,000 car was long gone. The $5,000 loss was just a rounding error now. But I'd gained something I'd spent my entire life chasing, just not in the way I expected. I hadn't bought his approval. I'd earned my own freedom. And in doing so, I'd finally given him permission to be a father. Sometimes, the people who are meant to love us the most are the least equipped to do so. Have you ever had to break a cycle in your own family? Share your story in the comments. And if this resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Remember, your value is never up for debate.